I did 250K in a month.
Got to 10K per month within like 30 days.
One of the biggest things that keeps people from seeing results is not the skill set, the mindset.
I believe that if you're going to go into business and you want to survive within like 5 years plus, you need to have a competitive advantage.
Top performers, they just throw shit at a wall, see what works, and then they optimize from there.
The person with like 3 divorces is a relationship coach type of thing.
I'm part-time therapist with my job.
Expensive ticket too.
Expensive ticket.
Yeah, that's not financial advice.
No. That's spiritual advice. Howdy, boys and girls, potatoes. My name is Dakota Robertson, and I show people how to grow and monetize their personal brand, writing cool stuff on social media.
I got to 10K per month within like 30 days. I think it was in like 3 or 4 months. It's a little fuzzy now. I got to around 40K a month US. And then at the peak, I hit 70K a month.
Learn a skill that solves people's problems. The only reason people consume content or will buy from you is because they're incentivized. And the biggest thing that incentivizes people to buy or follow you or send you feed pics, whatever, is if you solve pain points. That's the number one thing. That's the thing I wish I knew when I started. If you solve people's pain points, they value you. And if they value you, they will follow you, engage with you, they will pay or buy your stuff.
Okay, I'm going to actually relate this to someone who wants to make their first dollar online. This is my segue. You've given me the in. If you're going to do an offer, you either want to offer an offer that solves like a problem. That's pretty trite. But the more narrow the problem, the easier it is to fulfill. I think that's interesting. So you want to identify where like are the problems that I can solve in like what market. So for me, it's creators, people wanting to write online, build audiences, and like digital businesses. That's like where those problems I can solve. I have the skills to do it. So skills solve problems.
You can pretty much learn any skill. Like me, I was shitting my pants on sales calls. I taped a piece, like multiple pieces of paper behind my laptop so I could read the script, like the different parts of the script I was supposed to hit. Sounded awful, worst thing ever. But it was like, I knew the alternative if I didn't make this work. I would work a shitty job that I did not like, where I felt purposeless and just pretty much be broke. And I'm like, I don't want that. I want to build a business that I love, that I enjoy, I find fulfilling, it pays me well. And it was just a huge motivator having, knowing what's on the other side. So I think a lot of people have a very comfortable life, even though they have higher aspirations. So when they go through something that's hard or very challenging, trying to build and monetize their personal brand, it gets hard and like, shit. And they have this, like, they're comfortable with the whatever they had before and they just go back to that. But if you know, like, if you don't do this, you are SOL, and like, you know the reality that you have to face, it's like, oh shit, hell no. And you just make it work no matter what. So it's very powerful. It's a kind of a good reframe to view challenges in your life as just fuel to get shit done.
I met so many amazing people. I met Dakota Robertson. He was running a ghostwriting agency and he offered to teach me how to ghostwrite. And I remember being on a phone call with him and he's like, how much do you need to make to like quit your job? And I was like, I don't know, like 3,000 Canadian, which is like $5 US. And he laughed at me on the phone. He's like, dude, that's like one client. That's like all you need to like not work a 9 to 5. Like one client for 40, like we'll swap out 40 hours of work. And I thought he was crazy, but he gave me some good systems, honed my writing skills with me, sent some leads my way. And within, it was like 4 weeks, I basically jumped all the way up to 10K per month US, which, with the conversion rate to Canadian is even more insane. And that was the moment for me where like everything just broke. I was like, whoa, like people will pay me for this service online. Holy crap. And I only need one client to make the money. And it was just so like mind bending.
At the end of the day, you're just creating a transformation for people. And whether it is an emotional one, a mental one, or a skill transformation, that's what it all comes down to. And that's why I try to articulate to everybody when I teach them about social media, it's all about transformation. Like, you have to take them from pain point to a desired outcome. And then all the steps in between, that's your content. Even like business, you're inducing a transformation for somebody. Maybe you're making them more money, you're getting them fit, whatever it is, it's all comes down to transformation. And like, think about your own content. So you talk about your story. Well, it's transformation. How I went from, pain point, I had stakes, there was struggle, build up, climax, and then resolution. and ultimately transformation. So it all boils down to transformation.
Now, when you solve the problems, you want to identify which problem they're going to have first. And then when you solve that problem with a solution, so problem, skill bridges it, and then there's a solution, what problem opens up next? Because every solution creates a new problem. So let's say you teach someone to write and you solve that problem, then they're going to want to build an audience. And then once they get the audience, they're going to want brand. And then once they have brand, they're going to want a business. And sometimes those are like in different orders, but it's like a logical sequence. So when you're thinking about making money online, you want to either be solving a very narrow problem. So let's say a digital product would solve like, here's how to write, or here's how to build a brand, maybe even like smaller than that. It's like, what is like the smallest little chunk of problems you can solve? And then what's the next one? You link it. And an offer stack is when you link the problems sequentially. Like, I'm going to help you solve this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and that would create a system. A system is just, basically a string of solutions and processes. So like process and solutions. That processes that lead to solutions, sorry. So that's how you would do an offer. And to make your first dollar, what you would want to do is just identify the entry level one that people are going to experience, solve it, and then they'll ask you to solve the next one, and then they'll tell you what the next offer should be, and then you just create them in order. Now, digital identity is interesting because I wouldn't say it is an offer that has an offer stack where it solves a bunch of problems linearly. It's what I call an offer bundle. So although we've been able to provide some incredible education and our students have got great results, some are growing very fast, some are already making like tons of money, that's great. But where I think digital identity could have improved, especially as an info product, is it could have solved less problems in a better order. Because if someone's going through a cohort and you're like, okay, the first problem you need to solve is learning how to write. And they're like, okay, great. And they're learning how to write. And then naturally with education, you go to the next thing. But education actually moves too fast. So it's like, okay, well, now I'm going to teach you how to like do this. And now I'm going to teach you how to build brand. And they're like, I'm still like learning how to write because this takes like 6 months. So like, what the hell? So they're like working on this problem over here, but you're teaching them to solve this problem and it's not relevant to these people. So they're like, okay, well, I can just tune that out because I'm still struggling with this. And then you move on to the next thing and they're like, okay, well, now I'm so far behind that I'm just overwhelmed. And then you end up like, having to retroact that. Okay, what's the first problem that a lot of people have in my domain of like content creation and all that is they want to just write a bunch of content relatively quickly and make sure it's good. That's the first bottleneck. You're working a 9 to 5. I got to get all this content out and I'm just taking forever to write it. I remember those days. It was just like that for me, like 4 hours to write a Twitter thread or a LinkedIn post. So I created this thing called the X and LinkedIn Starter Pack, where you pop into it and it's just, okay, here is how you come up with 3 ideas really quickly. Here's how to turn it into 1 LinkedIn post and 7 tweets. Here's how to turn those into 4 hooks that like could work with hook frameworks. And then here's how to turn it into a carousel and into a long form thread. So there's one for X and one for LinkedIn. It's not like one product, just, it's 2 different products. And then after that, it's like, once you learn how to write content, maybe they want to learn to write newsletters and maybe this, but that would be the next thing. So I created it. And then you would just create a quick landing page. When people sign up to your newsletter, you can have them redirect to like the really short landing page with the tripwire. And it's just like, hey, for like $25, like you can buy this, or for $50, however you want to price it. So you can have it offered then. And I know some people who make like $2K a month, some people like $5K a month off tripwires, just off of like redirected traffic to a newsletter. And again, narrow problem. Like it doesn't take too long to create these, but do put enough time and effort in that they're valuable. And then you could also offer the tripwire in the newsletter, or maybe once a week you write a social post that's relevant to your audience, and then you plug the tripwire at the bottom, and it's just like, oh, hey, you can check out like the starter pack here. Put an upsell at the end, or ask people for feedback on like, hey, now that you've done this, like what else are you struggling with? Like let your audience decide what your next product is.
I like the cohort model. Like I tried doing it as just an open coaching program before, and I think I stopped after a month because it's so much better when everyone starts on the same foot. They're going through the same lessons together. It's like you're going on a journey together. And I just find the community is a lot stronger that way. What I try to do is teach the first principles of what I know with writing and content, psychology, and storytelling. And I try to give it to like the bare minimum, or like the bare essentials. And that way you have the foundations and you can create content that's tailored to you. Because if I try to write like Dan Coe or whatever other big creator, I'm just a copy. I'm a carbon copy. So I try to like give people the foundation so they can discover their own style. And it's like, I'll be honest, like it's pretty hard to teach a lot of beginners how to grow and monetize a personal brand, because like taking someone from 1 to 10 is way easier than taking someone from 0 to 1, because there's so much shit you got to teach them, and you got to do it in a way that actually they understand, and also overcome the mindset stuff for people. There's so many people that struggle with the mindset stuff when they're beginners. And so it's like most of the time you're just like trying to help them overcome self-limiting beliefs.
Holy crap, and I only need one client to make the money. And it was just so like mind bending. And from there, once that belief was broken, because belief actually holds a lot of people back, it's like the precursor to success.
Which is interesting, but it's really rewarding when you start to see it click for people, and then they start to apply it, and then they start to get like crazy results. Like some of the best messages I get are when people like, hey, I just quit my job, or I dropped out of college. It's kind of funny, but it makes me happy to see. But yeah, it's been a crazy learning experience for me, learning how to run a program, because I've only been doing it for 1 year, but I've already learned so much. And I'm always trying to like improve the fulfillment. Like this cohort, I put in a client success manager, Thomas, and I think that's been a game changer, because I can help people overcome challenges and hold them more accountable. And then the next one, I'm already planning like different things I can incorporate to increase retention and all, like help people understand topics better, looking, okay, what can I cut? What can I add to make it better? So definitely challenging, like a lot of work behind the scenes.
A pro tip for anybody making info products is that the info product should be habit based, and it should actually be project based. So by the time they complete the info, they should actually have completed a project. That's one thing that can differentiate a good info product from a bad info product, is if somebody takes it and they just leave like, oh, I just know new things. It's like, okay, well, that's great, but you should know new things to do new things. So make sure that they finish the info product by doing something new and being like, here, look, I have this. The same way that you take Justin Welsh's Content OS, which I've never taken, but this is what I've heard, is by the time you've done it, it's like, oh, I now have a newsletter that was turned into a thread and a LinkedIn post and like a week's worth of content. Oh my God. And that's the project. You take the course and then you have a week's worth of content, right? So make sure that your tripwire is project based if it's a digital info product.
Yeah, it's been crazy. And I love the people that come through too, because we screen everybody. We don't really let anybody in, and we make sure it's a good fit. So yeah, it's been cool. I always meet really cool people through the program, and I know everyone like intermingles, and some people become really good friends and form businesses together.
How did you get good at writing?
Twitter was the main way I got better, because it forced me to refine my thoughts and ideas in 280 characters. So most of writing is just simplifying what you're trying to say. So if you can convey something in the shortest amount of characters possible, then you already got most of the battle done. It's like you need a good idea, and you need to articulate it in a very clear and simple way, and then throw in some personality. It's really like that's kind of the secret sauce. And I think the first part is just learning how to strip your writing down to the simplest form. And then you can worry about, okay, how do I add personality? How do I find really popular ideas, or ideas that resonate with people? But it really like starts with the simplification. And what it does as well is it forces you to think concisely and simplify things. Like that's a big thing too, is like not even just the physical writing, but the ideas too. Like I can't drone on and on about a certain topic. I have to simplify it. And the way I do that is with analogies, metaphors, different stuff like that. So it's also simplifying concepts. I've written, I think, 40,000 tweets probably. So it's definitely helped my writing. I don't even know how many newsletters. I mean, when I started my newsletter, I was in the same boat. I was used to writing short form, and I didn't know how to do it. But I just did it anyways. I'm just going to write and just get better over time. And I never missed a week. I always did it every single week. I've been doing that for 2-something years now. And I think it's been one of the best things for my writing, because it forces me to write about something in a way where I have to actually understand. Like I have to carry an idea. I have to stretch it. So I can articulate an idea in under 280 characters, but to stretch an idea and actually expand upon topics in an easy to understand way that's entertaining, that for me is a lot more challenging, but it's a lot more fun. And I think it improves your writing way more. And not even just your writing, but your understanding of the concept, because you're forced to keep your entire newsletter cohesive and explain the concept. Newsletters are super powerful because it's not just like a tweet where it's like, oh, I like this, and then move on. Someone's actually taking the time to read your content and step into your world and understand your ideas.
The longer someone consumes a piece of content, like the more mental real estate you occupy, the more time under attention you get, is another way of putting it, the more connection that you get from them.
Like if I consume a tweet that's like 3 seconds, like, okay, they watch a 10-minute YouTube video and they can actually hear me speak. They can hear my tonality. They can see me articulate myself. That's a lot more powerful than if someone just reads a 3-second tweet.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to be top of mind when they have a problem they want solved? Oh, Dakota solves that problem. I'm going to go to him. So it's really like taking, like, you want to take up that mental headspace, that mental real estate. And I think newsletters are super powerful for that. I think it's also higher quality people on your newsletter as well. Like they're subscribing to your newsletter because they want to hear your thoughts in depth. It's just going to their inbox. It's more intimate, I find. It's like there's no noise.
And if you have a super long landing page, sure, a lot of people aren't going to read it and they're just going to skip through it and see the headers and read the stuff that's relevant and then maybe buy. But that's inevitable. Even with a short landing page, people are going to skim it. So if people are going to skim it anyways, you could just do a longer one. And then the people who do read the whole landing page are like quite likely to buy. Like if you sit there and you read a landing page for like 10 minutes, it's like reading a book chapter. Like you might be pretty bought in if the copy's good.
And I'm not saying, everyone should be an entrepreneur or start a personal brand, but I mean, it's something to think about if you want to build leverage. Look at all like the big business people, like they're all building a personal brand now. Like it builds that connection with people. It puts you in a category of one, just crazy amounts of leverage. So it's a good position to be in if you can build your brand online. Sure, you put in a shit ton of time and energy in building your audience, but then over time that compounds and you grow more and more leverage because you're not only reaching more people because it's exponential growth, but you're also nurturing the people that do follow you. There's so many people that said they followed me for years, and then it was only until some specific moment that they decided to buy.
I agree. It seems like we are moving into an age of the creator economy or, the content creation side of things where authenticity is winning because people are tired of overinflated promises, overproduction. The more authentic the content is and the less edited, the more implied trust that there is. And that's where we opted for that. I didn't want very many edits unless I made a mistake in it or like multiple cuts had to be put together just because of the performance. I just wanted it as like raw and authentic. And that tends to be my approach with content, is not to really overdo it, but just to be as raw as possible.
Coaching played a big part in my journey. I actually paid like $6,000 or $8,000 to my first mentor, Dan Coe, that I actually was like, oh shit, yeah, I gotta like get my ass in gear because I just paid a significant amount of money. I think it was $6,000. I had $8,000 in my bank and it just really lit a fire under my ass. He was in the position I wanted to be in and he gave me the roadmap. Hey, if you just execute on all of this stuff that I tell you to execute on, then you're going to get the result. And hiring a mentor was very useful for me because I didn't have to second guess myself. Like I knew, oh, if I just follow what he says, I'm going to get the result. It's just a matter of me putting in the work and doing what he says. And so it eliminated a lot of the self-doubt or limiting beliefs because I knew if I had challenges, I could go to him and he would help me. If you try to figure it out all on your own, which a lot of people can, and I think I could have too, but I think it was way more efficient because I wasn't wondering, oh, is this the right move? It was like, no, this guy's done what I want to do. I'm just going to execute on it. And it just eliminated a lot of those limiting beliefs. Podcast that changed my life was Naval Ravikant's podcast with Joe Rogan, where he talks about that. Made me view life in a completely different way. But it's interesting to see a lot of the lessons from that podcast. I got to experience it. Like first I heard them, I was like, okay, that makes sense. But then I experienced it. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's interesting to see the contrast now because I view money as a tool and not something that is very scarce like I did growing up. You buy back time, you buy back energy, focus, whatever. And then with that, you can use your resources to accumulate more money to increase that feedback loop and get more returns from it. Like I just see everything as leverage now. That's like the big lesson I've learned over the years.
Yeah. We got a couple more minutes here, but I know you're not a landing page guy. What are your thoughts right now as far as like landing?
So if you think about a landing page structure, it's like VSL was like the story and the emotion. And then just below that, it's like, here's what you get. So we kind of split it into two. As for if it actually like worked, I don't know. if it really worked, because I didn't realize that we had all the tracking set up. My website guy had set it up ahead of time, like heat maps, so you can see where people go. And in hindsight, when I reflected and went through the data and looked at everybody who hit the page, not very many people even watched the VSL.
Interesting.
There's a very small amount. Like they just kind of seen it and like skipped down. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I'm kind of anti VSL a little bit, but I need more data. That might be me being kind of ignorant, but the stuff I've done without a VSL has just performed like better, at least I think. So I don't know. I need more data.
Got it. Well, thanks for your time, sir.
Yes, thank you, good sir. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Jeremy.